The transition of 3D animation to 2D animation, as you can see on screen here, is just outright stunning, because so many anime love to use 3D CGI as a way to cheap out or to make things a little bit easier on themselves. I'm thinking of you, X-Arm, I'm thinking of you, The Rising of the Shield Hero, and yes, even you, Berserk 2016. There's so many anime that love to use CGI as a means of making things easier to animate, but in turn, the trade-off is it looks just outright ugly. But for some reason, 2B Hero X has managed to do a nice hybrid of 2D animation and 3D animation. Because you're not telling me the background and stuff, the way the camera is moving around, the choreography, there is definitely some 3D CGI poured into this, but with 2D kind of painted over it, and this is just an outright, I want to be honest, an amazing sequence that makes me feel like my worries for the consistency of the show was unjustified, because like the choreography here really just speaks for itself. Seeing the movement of the characters dodging blast and how easy it is to follow, like this right here, I'm not gonna lie, it's probably one of my favorite segments of the episode, and let me explain why. Because the overall effort it was put into the character movement here just really showcases why this is such a good show. So, as you can see, Moon gets knocked back. She puts a portal down, and as she dives through it, you see her fall down, and as she falls down, she literally knocks this man to the ground. His knee is on the ground, and his sword is pushed to the ground. She's holding it down where he cannot retaliate or hurt her. And so as he's trying to get her off, she jumps up. You see the transition of her backflipping. He's trying to lift his sword up, and as he's lifting it up, you see him bring it back around, trying to slam it back on her, and as he raises it up, she dodges once again. I love the choreography in this. It is very easy to follow, and there's so many anime that really have so hyper-realistic animation and art, but sometimes it's so hard to follow because there's just so much clutter on the screen, or it's just so bright and flashy that you just don't know what's even going on. And in this case, I love how 2B Hero X actually showcases a really good fight while making it pretty easy to follow, but also understanding that these are heroes and villains fighting each other, and they are superhuman. They are very strong than the average human, and I love the feeling of that. I don't know, just the way this sequence is done really showcases the inherent, I guess, greatness of what this anime is doing for this anime season. But with that being said, there is a lot to really talk about, besides obviously this gorgeous art animation, but I do need to point something out before I shift topics. And that is, I love the experimentation of the art style. I love this right here at the beginning, the way the episode opens up with like a flashback. It's just so cool, man. I love these little things right here. It's just so unique. It stands out. It pops. And I guess this could come off as a little bit of a negative for some, depending on your viewpoint, because when you have an art style shift a lot, it might pull people out and not be as immersed, because it's like, why is it shifting from, let's say, a 2D style or hand-drawn style to a 3D arcane style to back to a 2D style? You know, why do this? It might upset some people, but I don't know. The way 2B Hero X has done this has been great. I have really enjoyed this from start to finish, and it's honestly such a shame that not more people are talking about this, because yes, there is some good shows from this season, not gonna lie, really good stuff, probably one of the best anime seasons in a while, at least for me, but I'm not gonna lie that I love this show. It's been really enjoyable, and I cannot wait to see where this story is gonna develop. But with that being said, we do need to talk about the elephant in the room, which is the cliffhanger we got for the first episode, which, as you can see, is right here. So, let's explain. Basically, last week's episode really ended on such a crazy cliffhanger that I think it's what caused a lot of people wanting to continue to watch it. And what I mean by that is this character right here, Moon, she died in the first episode. Literally, the first episode, at the end, she was dead in Lynn's bed, or Nice's bed. She was just dead, and he didn't know. He came into his apartment, and from his perspective, he realized she was there, and then she was dead. And that's where the episode ended. The episode literally starts off giving us a backstory in this very unique art style, giving us, you know, the history of how Moon and Nice got together and became a couple, so to speak. And then it transitions back to the present day, and you see Moon is completely fine, she's working out, and Nice is like, what? Like, was that a dream? He acknowledges the weirdness of the end of the first episode, which gets into the main segment of the negative and positives of this, so let's talk about that first. So this right here is pretty strange, because there's two ways you can really take this segment. You could say that it's subversion to be subversive. That's what you could say. Maybe the reason why she's alive is just to subvert people's expectations, say, nah, she's not really dead. And what Lynn or Nice saw was just a dream of some kind. And if that really is the case, I'm not gonna lie, that's very bad writing, and I think that is a cause for concern if that legitimately was just there just to be a cliffhanger, but there was nothing else that it was going to be used for. For instance, if it comes back around, like, you know, we finish this series, like it has, I think the series has been confirmed for 20-something episodes, I could be wrong, correct me in the comments below, but if it comes, like, down to it, and we get to the conclusion of the story, and there is no confirmation that that beginning sequence has any relevancy whatsoever, then I'm just going to chalk it up to very bad writing. That's what it is, straight up. I don't like stuff like that, especially fake outs that just, like, don't really translate well into the format, because we can see that Nice or Lynn wasn't even asleep, so it's very weird. But the fact that he acknowledges it makes me view it in a way that is not negative. It makes me view that whatever he saw was not necessarily fake, but actually real. But reality changed, or in this case, maybe it was foresight. So there's two ways to view this. You can either say that Nice, or Lynn in this case, has the ability of foresight. He's able to see the future to some kind, and what he saw from her was more or less what will happen in the future, either in this episode or later on down the road, many, many episodes from now. But it's very clear that it could be foresight, because obviously in the very same episode, that obviously is very focused on Moon as a character, we see at the end of the episode, she basically fakes her death to be able to separate herself from Nice, and to be her own person, to be able to do whatever she wants without having to be showbiz, or, you know, be business, so to speak. As a girlfriend that's a fake girlfriend, so to speak, she can be her own woman. So in this case, it could have been foreshadowing or foresight to what would have happened at the end of this episode. But I think that is very short-sighted and not exactly what's going on, because the wounds that we saw was just completely different. So my assumption, if it is foresight, it is an episode that's yet to come, and Moon might theoretically die if something is not done. Now, there is another way to look at this, and that is the alteration of reality itself. We already have a few examples of this, and the series has not really tried to shy away from it. We have seen many examples just in this episode alone of reality literally altering. Let's get into it. So, we know the ability system of this series so far. If the public trusts you and believes in you, then your abilities will get stronger, and they will warp to whatever the audience or the world views you as. And in this case, you literally saw Lynn's eye color change into being more like Nice. He has abilities like Nice now. He has gotten very strong, because obviously that is what the public perceives him as. So we already see reality literally distorting just to make him into a strong hero. And we even see with Moon in this case, with this episode, her abilities, which literally starts off in this episode revealing that she has the power of teleportation, or in this case making portals. But as she continued to have a bond with Nice, her ability made it to where she could only teleport to where Nice was. So she wasn't capable of teleporting anywhere she wanted in the world or at any given point. She had a limitation now to where she could only teleport to where her boyfriend was. And this showcases a very good example of a negative consequence of the audience believing in you. For instance, depending on what the audience views, it won't just come as a boon or a positive to make you stronger. It actually can make you relatively weaker. And that's exactly what happened to Moon. So it explains a lot with her frustration as an individual, why she feels like she is bound to him, because she can't even be her own person with her own abilities as well, thanks to what the public views her as. So I could see the anger and the frustration with her character there, and why there is a lot of resentment she has had. But the point is we see reality literally warping and changing her abilities for a negative way, just because that's what the audience thinks. So what I'm getting at is, and circling back around to the main point, is that the beginning of the episode, with Moon apparently being alive even though we saw her dead, it's possible that someone, or even Lynn/Nice, manipulated reality to where she was alive once again. Once again, we don't have proof of this, but there is evidence to believe it is possible. Actually, I think there is another layer to this that is pretty meta that I do want to mention, and that is the fact of the animation art style shifting. So in this segment that I opened up the video with, you know, 3D CGI transitioning into 2D style, this could also be a meta level, like reality warping. For instance, instead of just like warping the story, it actually warps the animation. And so in this sequence, instead of it just being an artistic style choice for the watchers, aka us, it could be literally reality shifts because of someone's ability. And if that's indeed the case, that's pretty cool. I really hope that's the case. Maybe I'm putting too much thought or theory crafting into this, but it does feel like that's where the series is kind of building up towards. So yeah, I love the presentation of To Be Hero X. It's really fun to be able to sit down, theory craft, and talk about this in such a detailed way, because it's rare for me to find a series that does this. And I feel like there is a lot of depth to this series that really can be explored. And I hope that it continues to remain consistent and it doesn't drop off anywhere in quality, because this is a pretty excellent episode. Now, if I would say there's one thing that is negative about this episode, and it's not necessarily a massive negative, because obviously it's just my preference as a viewer, but I think that the overall conclusion of Moon's character in this episode feels very quick. And I feel like, I hope that her character is not a one and done thing. For instance, she's such an important integral part to Lin as an individual, not just Nice, but Lin, that if this is like her end to her character arc and story, and she's not really shown much ever again within the story, I feel like legitimately that is such a waste, because obviously there is just so much to her character that could be utilized, and especially with the overall, like, a connection and vibe we saw between the two within this episode before they obviously had a sham marriage. I think that, I hope that she comes back, and this isn't like the end of her character, but we shall see. Obviously, at this point in time, the story hasn't indicated to me that it's poorly written or anything, but that's just me, because I liked her character so much in this episode. I hope she does come back. That, like I said, that's the only negative I have, but it's not necessarily the show's fault. But yeah, I like the show. Very good. Cannot wait to see where it's going to go next. But tell me your thoughts in the comments below. Are you going to continue watching this, or are you going to drop it? I'm legitimately curious, but subscribe if you like my content and you want more of my content to appear in your feed. Leave a like on the video as well. It lets me know that you like this video and you also want more of this type of content. But be safe, stay healthy, Chibi out.